Members, start over. All the mics are off. Start over. So member from Central, sorry, you're not Central anymore, sorry. Member from South, Manchester South. Turn your mic on.
Hold on. Members, the speaker had referenced her original ruling in relation to mics and to participate. We see the challenge that we have when multiple people turn on their mics. So please keep off your mics. When the presentation is drawing to an end, you can indicate that you want to speak and the mic will be activated, right? Yes, so there is, again, reference is made to the ruling by the speaker. I think, yes, it does show that you would want to speak. Yeah. All right, so I think we have the memo from South Manchester.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had not originally intended to contribute to the debate because I was confident that the leader of the opposition would have covered the points. And I think the use of the standing orders to curtail the important contribution of the leader of the opposition was very unfortunate, though consistent with a growing practice of suppression of voices not supporting the government. Members of Parliament were not elected to come here to serve the standing orders. The standing orders are here to serve the Parliament. And when it is used to stifle and suppress an important contribution on a bill that is so significant to the future of this country, it is disgraceful. Mr. Speaker, we can begin by acknowledging the scale of the crisis. Hurricane Melissa inflicted devastation of historic proportions. That demands urgency, it demands coordination, it demands leadership, but above all, it demands accountability. And that, Mr. Speaker, is precisely what this bill fails to provide. It is a blank check without guardrails. This legislation creates an authority with sweeping powers over billions of dollars in reconstruction expenditure, yet strips away the very safeguards that protect public funds. The authority is empowered to procure goods, works, and services directly. It can enter into any transaction it deems necessary, and it is funded by unlimited parliamentary appropriations and other inflows. Mr. Speaker, this is not reconstruction governance. This is a fiscal free-for-all. Where are the explicit procurement rules? Where are the independent oversight mechanisms? Where is the requirement for competitive tendering, public disclosure, or value for money audits in real time? Instead, we are asked to trust blindly that this authority will regulate itself. That is not how Westminster democracy works. What we are seeing here is executive capture. The Prime Minister controlling everything. The architecture of this authority is not independent. It is subordinate to the executive. The CEO is appointed by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister can issue binding directions and the CEO must comply. The Cabinet alone determines which projects are approved and which are strategic. This is not a balanced institutional design. This is centralized executive control over project selection, procurement, and execution. In any serious Westminster parliamentary democracy, such executive concentration of power would be offset by a statutorily independent board, by parliamentary committee pre-approval of major projects, by mandatory publication of decisions and contracts. None of that is here. None of that. Instead, we have a structure where the same political directorate decides, directs, and effectively executes. Definition of unchecked executive power. And then when we speak about this stepping power to override the entire regulatory state. In a sense, this is perhaps the most alarming feature of this bill. Under sections 21 to 24, the authority can issue directives to regulatory bodies, force timelines, and ultimately ask the minister to override those bodies directly. The minister can then grant approvals himself, modify or remove conditions imposed by the regulators, and those decisions carry full legal effect as if made by the original authority. Mr. Speaker, let us call this what it is. This is the executive branch arrogating to itself the powers of every regulatory authority in Jamaica. Planning, environmental, utilities, and more, all in the name of expedition. But we have seen this movie before. We have seen this movie before. A recent example in Europe. I would call it the this model bears an uncomfortable resemblance to what we have seen in Hungary. Emergency powers were used to centralize procurement authority. Regulatory checks were bypassed in the name of speed. Public contracts were channeled through politically controlled entities. Oversight institutions were weakened or sidelined. The result was a reconstruction and development model widely criticized across Europe for cronyism, opaque procurement, and misallocation of public funds. We must ask ourselves, are we building for resilience, or are we building a Jamaican version of that same model? I want to turn to what I might call the perfect conditions for abuse. The combination of secrecy and indemnity. The bill compounds the risk by combining these two dangerous provisions. The first is the secrecy clause. Officials are legally bound to treat documents as confidential with criminal penalties for disclosure, not administrative, criminal penalties. And then these officials are indemnified for any actions taken in their roles. So you're combining secrecy, executive control, weak oversight, massive discretionary spending. Mr. Speaker, this is not the formula for efficiency. This is a fertile ground for corruption. You know, they can talk about accountability to Parliament. Yes, the bill provides for annual reports, audited accounts, tabling in Parliament. But let us be honest, this is after the fact accountability. We see it in the Auditor General reports every year, but it's long after the horse has gone through the gate. By the time Parliaments see these reports, contracts will have been signed, funds will have been spent, decisions will be irreversible. Accountability is not just retrospective, it is contemporaneous and preventive. The irony is that in the memorandum it speaks of transparent management, yet procurement is not transparently structured. Decisions are not subject to real-time disclosure. Oversight is not independent. Confidentiality is criminally enforced. Mr. Speaker, this is not transparency. This is opacity dressed up in legislative language. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, this bill sets a dangerous precedent. It is not merely about reconstruction. It is about how Jamaica governs large-scale public expenditure in times of crisis. And what it proposes is deeply troubling. Concentrated executive power, minimal oversight, weak transparency, legal tools to override institutions. We all want Jamaica rebuilt quickly, efficiently, and resiliently. But we must not rebuild Jamaica on a foundation of weakened democracy and compromised accountability. Because if we do so, Mr. Speaker, we may rebuild the roads, we may rebuild the bridges, but we will have undermined the very institutions that hold this country together. I therefore urge this House to reject this bill in its current form or to amend it fundamentally to restore transparency, accountability, and proper Westminster-style governance. Thank you.
Members, could you please turn off all the mics? Turn off all the mics. The next speaker going to be the member from Portland Eastern. And after the Portland Eastern, we're going to have the member from St. Andrew North Central.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you. I see